This creepypasta was submitted by our user NoobMaster69. My name is James. I'm 24 years old, and I live alone in a small one-story house in the suburbs. My parents bought the house for me after I graduated high school so I could move out and start working on my YouTube career. It's kind of far from the city and in an older part of town. But it's got a pool and it's perfect for doing vlogs and stuff. The neighborhood itself is pretty nice. All the houses look similar, two-stories, white picket fences, trimmed lawns. It's the typical American dream type of place. So, I've always felt safe here. And besides, I've lived here my whole life. I know all the neighbors. There's never been any problems. Or so I thought. A few months ago, I started noticing small, strange things around my house. Like a light being left on that I was sure I turned off, or a door slightly open that I always keep shut. At first, I thought I was just being forgetful. Maybe I was tired or distracted. But it kept happening, even little things like the TV being turned on to a random channel with the volume up. It was really weird and unsettling. It almost felt like someone was trying to get my attention, but who and why? It didn't make any sense. None of this made any sense. Was I going crazy? Maybe I should have just ignored it. But instead, I started taking pictures of rooms before I left the house, just to prove to myself I wasn't losing my mind. One night around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of footsteps. But they weren't coming from outside, they were coming from below me. I don't have a finished basement. Just an old, damp storage space with a concrete floor, a single bulb, and shelves of tools and boxes. I barely go down there. The only time I can remember going down there recently was when I was filming a video about organizing my tools. It was a chore I'd been putting off for months, but it was too much to ignore. Finally, I got all my power tools and camera gear down there. Then I spent a few hours cleaning everything up, sorting through old projects and broken tools. I filmed the whole thing and uploaded it to YouTube. That was a week ago. And since then, I hadn't been down there until now. I grabbed a flashlight and quietly made my way to the basement door. I stood there, listening. Silence. I slowly opened the door and stepped down. When I left the basement earlier that day, I was sure to turn off the single overhead bulb. I remembered checking it twice because I didn't want to waste electricity. But as I reached the bottom of the stairs, the bulb above me flickered once, and then went out. I scanned the room with my flashlight. Nothing, just dust and boxes. My heart started racing. What was that noise? Footsteps, I told myself. Someone was walking around up in the house while I was sleeping. But there are no other entrances to the basement. The windows are up high and covered in bars. So unless someone was flying, there's no way anyone could have gotten in or out without me knowing. Breathing, I froze. The breathing was coming from behind the water heater. I stepped forward. And that's when I saw it, a man. He was thin and pale and his clothes were dirty and torn. He looked like he hadn't seen sunlight in weeks. His hair was long and greasy, and he had a scraggly beard. His eyes were wide and dark. He stared at me like I was the intruder. He didn't say a word. I couldn't speak either. I just stood there frozen in fear, and sure of what to do. Should I scream, run, try to fight him off? In the end, I did none of those things. I just stood there paralyzed with fear until he broke the silence. "Who are you?" I asked. My voice was shaking. He looked away. "I don't have a name," he whispered. "You can call me John." He gestured to himself. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "Where did you come from?" He shook his head. "Don't remember," he said. "Been here a long time." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Could this be some kind of joke? Was this guy serious? But then I saw the wild look in his eyes, the dirt under his fingernails, the way he kept glancing over his shoulder as if expecting someone to attack him at any moment. I knew this was no joke. This guy really believed he had been living in my basement for weeks. That's when I decided to run. I turned and fled as fast as I could, taking the stairs two at a time. I could hear him behind me. "Wait, please wait," he called out. But I didn't stop. I ran as fast as I could, adrenaline pumping through my veins. When I finally reached the top of the stairs, I slammed the door shut and locked it. I could still hear him pounding on the door, begging me to let him in. But I didn't. I ran to my bedroom and hid under my bed. I stayed there for what felt like hours, listening to him scream and yell until finally he fell silent. I don't know how long I stayed under that bed, but eventually I came out and cautiously made my way to the door. I unlocked it and peeked out into the hallway. Everything was quiet. I walked out into the living room and called the police. When they arrived, they found a makeshift bed made of blankets and towels in the corner of the basement. They also found a bag full of my clothes and a half-eaten apple core. Apparently, he had been stealing food from my fridge and leaving the doors open. They searched the basement but didn't find any trace of our intruder. "How did he get in or out?" the officer asked. "I don't know," I replied. "I haven't seen him, I swear." The officer looked at me skeptically. "Are you sure?" I nodded my head. "Positive." The officer sighed and shook his head. "All right, son, we'll look into it. But if we can't find anything, this might be a case of trespassers at night. No harm, no foul, right?" I nodded my head, although I wasn't convinced. Something wasn't right. I changed the locks the same day and installed security cameras. I even put up motion sensor lights outside. To this day, I haven't slept a full night. Sometimes I wake up in the middle of the night, and I swear I hear breathing. It's a really unsettling feeling. The police never found any answers, and my neighbors have given me some strange looks since this happened. I try not to think about it too much, but sometimes I can't help but wonder, who was that man and how did he get in my house? Now, here's another story about a man who has been dead for years. Click here if you dare. Or click here to see another story from our channel. Thanks for watching. Hey, if you like these kinds of stories, then check out our podcast where we publish the exact same episodes. Also hit that subscribe button because we put out new videos every single day. Thanks for watching.